Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for joining us on Let's Get Loud. We're hearing about the priceless legacy left behind by Jeanette Campbell and told by her daughter Dayna Campbell. We heard about Jeanette's welfare program, that she was the welfare program, and how she ensured that the lives of young ladies were changed, whether it meant that Dayna and her brother had to give up their beds, but whatever it meant, Jeanette ensured that these young ladies were taken care of. We then heard about how Dayna didn't want to be anything like her mother, and all she wanted to do was attain accolades that would make her different. She wanted to give, but she wanted to have something for herself, unlike her mom, who gave out of the little that they had. And this week, we heard somewhere in the first episode where Dayna talked about her mom and her dying. And we just want to journey through the illness that Jeanette went through and the the journey it took Dayna on and how that has impacted their lives and also changed their lives. Dayna, thank you so much again for joining us on Let's Get Loud and sharing the story, the priceless legacy that your mom, Jeanette, left behind. This
Thank you
evening,
again for having me, Ingrid.
thank you. This evening, we're going to hear more about her illness and how that impacted you. And not only impacted you, but again, the legacy that she left even through her illness and how that has changed your life. So tell us, when exactly did Jeanette come down with, was it cancer?
Yes,
Yeah.
cancer. She was diagnosed with cancer about 2007, I
Hmm.
think it was. Yes, 2007.
Okay.
Because mommy spent so much time
Hmm.
looking about everybody else, she
Hmm.
really did not spend a lot of time looking about herself.
Yeah. What
She
kind of
didn't,
cancer was it?
it started off with breast cancer,
Hmm.
and then it spread to her liver and her bone.
Hmm. And how did that impact you, especially your close-knit family, not to mention the other children that she nurtured? How did that impact you guys?
Wow, it was really a shock to us. And I was afraid of losing her
Hmm.
because, as much as I didn't want to become like her, I loved her dearly. And there just was nobody on the planet who could love me like her. So, I just, that kind of love, you just don't want to lose it ever. So it really was difficult not to be to deal with the news and deal with it in a godly way, like without fear of losing her, knowing that, God knows best. But as a human, it was just difficult. And everybody, for everyone else as well. We did everything we could, spend a lot of time with her, stuff like that.
But
But what I did,
you said deal with it in a godly way. How did Jeanette take the news?
she was not as worried as we were.
Why am I
She,
not surprised?
to be honest, she really wanted to live. She
Hmm.
wanted to live. And so she decided that she was ready to battle it. She didn't feel like she was going to die to cancer.
Okay.
And so it gave me, it just, she was my why in life. And so everything I did know was about, okay, we're going to do this together. And I went on a mission to find ways to help her to get over the cancer because she did not want to do chemotherapy and
Okay.
radiation.
What were
So we
some of those ways?
so first of all, it was through Earl's Juice Gardens. They had a lifestyle center at I think it was in Red Hills at the time,
Okay.
and we I put mommy in the lifestyle center. And I can't forget this lesson stayed with me. They put her on a juice fast. Now, in addition to having cancer, she also had diabetes.
Hmm.
And that came as a direct result of her being overweight.
Okay.
And After 11 days on the juice fast, mommy never took insulin again. Now, she had been injecting herself for, I think it was 3 years with insulin every single day, and 11 days on a juice fast, and she never took insulin again. And she lived for like about 7, 8 years after that visit to the
Without
doctor.
insulin.
Yeah, with no insulin. And that opened my eyes to the fact that something is wrong with the food we are eating and the way we are living, because a lot of things are can be reversed, but it's easier to throw medication at it, to pop a pill, than to transform our lives, our lifestyle. And I know that mommy had um she had an issue with food. I have an issue with food too. I love to eat, don't get me wrong. I love to eat, but mommy just had to look at the food and she would put on weight.
Oh, wow.
I got from my father's genes. I don't have that same problem. I have, other challenges like acne or stuff that will come as a result of food. But for her, the weight, she couldn't take it off easily either, because she also had a thyroid problem. I could go down the list of things that, because she never would exercise, go to the gym. Even if she went for a walk, she would end up stopping to talk to everybody along the way. So there was no exercise in that, So yeah, so the lifestyle center was the first stop. And that was just life changing for both of us, because I realized that mom would not change her lifestyle, especially, with the eating, if she was doing it, if she had to do it alone.
Oh, wow. So you
I,
were her accountability partner then?
I wasn't just her accountability partner. I chose to do it with her.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So when I took her there the morning, my intention was to leave her after a while and, go back to work, because I was living in Kingston and she had to
Mhm.
come over to Kingston
Right.
to the lifestyle center. So when I got up there and, got her settled in, and they were starting to explain to her she will not eat any meat, nothing processed, not like all of this, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, if this is to save her life, she did.
Oh, wow.
It sounds bad, but I just knew. And I said to her, Mom, you won't have to do this alone. I'm going to start the same diet with you. I had no plans though when I went there. That was not my plan.
Hmm.
So for the first couple weeks, I lost so much weight because I had stopped eating meat. I had stopped eating everything processed, and I hadn't planned out my meals properly. And from unlike her, like I lost weight so easily. My metabolic rate was
Hi.
higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost a lot of weight, but just because I wanted to I would do anything
Hmm.
to help her live even a day longer.
Wow.
It mattered to me. I had to show her that I was committed so that
Wow.
she would stay committed.
Oh, I love that. You had to show her that you were committed so that she would stay committed. I'm interested in to know more about this diet though. What did it involve? No meat, no
No.
processed food. So you only ate from the land.
Yes. Yes. Their supermarket was the market. Nothing prepackaged or processed like that. I mean, even like so what they would do is I learned how to make shakes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd have shake, the vegetable juice, even kalaloo raw. So most of it was a raw food diet actually. 80% of it was raw. You could probably make a little soup or something, but 80% of what you consumed each day had to be raw, because once you start applying heat to the food, you start to kill the enzymes. So like you detract from really all the health benefits that you would get from the natural food. So their thing was find creative ways to prepare it. I even learned to they had classes at their one of their locations. I don't think it exists anymore, but I remember they taught us to prepare aki raw,
Really?
halaloo raw, like in it preparing it into a whole meal where it actually tastes good. We made jams just by soaking the fruits and using the food processor. So you do your own processing. Just and I realize there's a whole host of things that you can create without, but it's just time consuming, you know. And so we're in this fast paced world that doesn't really allow for us to make the
Mm.
time to look about ourselves that
Wow.
way. And that's where the problem lies, I think.
And you said your mom lived for 7 years after that without ever having to inject insulin again.
She never used insulin again. No, to be honest, by the time she was diagnosed with cancer, the
Mm.
diet and lifestyle change alone was not enough.
Mm.
It was not enough to reverse the cancer. And
Right.
so what we ended up doing, we also went to Mexico to
Okay.
CPAG clinic, Dr. Casteo. Dr. Casteo became like family to us
Wow.
because mommy went to Mexico and she heard about this place and that people, a lot of Jamaicans seem to
Yeah.
go there. And mommy was unstoppable. You know, she was a teacher, so we didn't have a lot of money put up for this trip, and she had to spend at least 3 weeks on her first visit because they told her it takes 21 days to like clean her blood or something to
Oh,
that effect.
wow.
And what they were going to do is inject vitamins and
Mm.
oxygen into her blood to clean it
Mm.
up. So that was another treatment. And she did that, and then after the first visit she had to go back for like after 3 months, and then beyond that. But what I learned on this journey with
Mhm.
mom is
Mhm.
that too many people wait until the doctors have given up on them before they take this more natural approach towards improving their health or
Wow.
maintaining health. And I learned that you don't have to wait until you're sick to put vitamins and oxygen into your blood. So what I started doing is once a year I would take the trip back to Mexico by myself, even after mommy passed, to clean my blood. I wouldn't stay 2 weeks because it's not like I'm curing anything, but just to maintain health. So I never really would have to go to the doctor because I just tried to, eat right. And of course, after mommy got cured of cancer, she got over it twice because it did come back.
No kidding.
Yes, she got over the cancer, but she had put on a lot of weight because she compensated from the meat. She started to eat more bread and stuff because, as I said to you, she had a real struggle with food.
Food, yeah.
Because
Mm.
everybody has their thorn in the
Yeah.
flesh, right?
Everybody.
So the doctor said to her, it would really be sad for you to beat cancer and die of a heart attack because you're overweight. You have to lose the weight.
Yeah.
And so she would try to exercise. And when she exercised, she was using a trampoline, which she should never have been using a trampoline, considering that she had had bone cancer and she was overweight. But she that's what she had, so she used it, and she fractured her spine, and that was where everything started to go downhill for her
Oh,
because then
no.
she didn't want to travel to Mexico anymore. She didn't have the willpower to do all that because she was in pain all the time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Wow.
But
And
that's the
that,
reason for that
mm.
journey. I just wanted to say that there are little changes that I've been able to make to my own life that I know has helped me to stay out of the doctor's office or to
Mhm.
stay on medication for for things. And I learned also that it wasn't just about what you put in your body. Detoxing was extremely important,
Important.
and mental health, like emotional health, like your mindset has a lot to do with it. So if you
Mm.
eat grass all the days of the year and you are stressed out,
Mm.
on your funeral. So I learned to read that balance is just so important, and
Right.
I changed a lot of things in my life that I still practice even today just because of what I learned on that journey with
Oh,
mom.
wow. That is so good to know, because you mentioned something that is very important. We wait until the doctor say you have 6 months to live. And then we decide, oh yeah, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to eat this. But I've always said to people, you cannot reverse in 6 months what you took 50 years to build up. You
Exactly.
cannot. You
Exactly.
cannot. Just like people want to wake up and they want to lose weight, but you didn't pack it on overnight. You pack it on
Right.
over time.
Right.
So how did the end come from for your mom, and how was that for you?
Well, so after she fractured her spine,
Hmm.
she would not be able to move a lot. She spent a lot of time lying down and she developed a bed sore. No, because mommy knows all the doctors and she just has to call them up and say, oh, send a cream for this or whatever. If she knows everybody. So they didn't even bother to go and check on her because she was a nurse before, right? She knows these things. And they just took it for granted whatever she was saying was accurate,
Wow.
and nobody bothered to check. So by the time she called me, I was actually living in Cayman, and she called me and told me she was dying.
Hmm.
And I'm like, Mommy, you've been battling cancer. You've been winning the war against cancer
Yes,
for all this time. And I've
yes, yes.
never heard her talk like that. I mean, what is this?
Hmm.
And she says, no, you need to come. And that's when I went back to visit, and I saw that the bed sore had gotten, like out of control. And I took her to the hospital, which she did not want to go to, but she just had to. And they had to operate because she had developed 4 years gangrene in it. Because you remember the diabetes is still in her system, even though she's not on insulin.
Right, right.
So it's harder, any sore, any cuts, any bruise, it's just harder to heal.
Hmm.
And she developed 4 years gangrene. And the doctor told me, it's poisoning in her system. They have to operate, they have to cut away. And so, that's when she thought she was going to die. And she was happy about dying by that time because she had already gone so many years, with this in this journey. And she had just made peace with the fact that she was going to die. And she was just like a little too happy because I was bawling. And she was like telling everybody about Jesus and all of that. And anyway, she didn't die that night when they operated. And she was so upset the next morning. And I was so embarrassed that I was happy for her to be alive. She was sad that she was still here because now she's bedridden because she has to her flesh almost like has to grow back. And over that period, is when God dealt with me about letting her go and
Wow.
really releasing her. And I think He allowed her not to die that night just for me. And I'm sorry for the few extra months that she was in pain or uncomfortable. Um, but God knew that I needed a little more time to realize that it's not the worst thing in the world for a Christian to to die. So yeah.
Wow. Ooh, that's very deep. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Dana, when you were there when she actually made her transition, weren't you?
Yeah. So I had returned to Cayman, but this last time now it's actually my sister, the one that I was telling you about that came when I was
Right.
8 years old. Right, she
Right.
and I are very close,
Right.
and she had actually moved in back into the house because she realized mommy was going downhill. So she and her son moved in, and um, she said to me, she called me the night. I'll never forget. She said, Dana, if
Hmm.
you can come now. I said, what do you
Okay.
mean? She says, people are around and mommy's not talking. Now, and we gave her food and she's not eating.
Oh
There are
Lord.
two things
Two
that
things.
my mother loves:
Right.
talking and eating. So if she's not doing any of those two,
Right.
she's on her way out. And
Wow.
unfortunately, I think I'm the same way. I can be a bit of a talker and I love to eat. So, but no, that was like the red flag for everybody. So I called my boss at the time. It was Tony. Tony was so generous and thoughtful and caring because he and his wife had also lost their mom, so they
Yeah.
they understood. They knew what I was in for. I had no idea, but
Right.
they did. And he gave me the time off to go and be with her. And I left the very next morning on the first flight out. And during that week, I got to experience what they called traveling. I never imagined that I thought it was like an old wives' tale or something.
Right.
Like I really want. There were times that she would be looking at me, and it's almost like she's looking right through me.
Wow.
So just being there with her, watching her transition, she was peaceful. Her skin, because she had been lying on her back so long, her skin started to look new, like a baby again. She just started to look so beautiful. And she had lost all the weight. So somebody said, oh, maybe it's a good thing she was fat because she wouldn't have had anything to lose and then she would have been gone already. So, like we turned everything into the house wasn't like a sad place, like daddy and mommy would joke about even the death thing, like her lying there one day. She was lying down, and she had her hands by her side, and just looking. And daddy said to her, boy, you're looking casket sharp, man. And she laughed, and she laughed. And I'm like, daddy, that is not a joke, but they, like they were real Christians. Like there's a verse in the Bible that says, for to me to live is Christ and to die is gain. They really saw death as a gain. But of course, I'm selfish. Like I want my mom here with me. So I was not seeing it that way. But yes, I was with her, and one of the days when I was there, and I just realized, oh, people would call, they would send money, they would send gifts, they would send food. Just people just like poured out, you know, so much love on us. And I really realized at that point that this is the way God wants us to live.
Oh my
Because,
God.
the impact that she made for others was so profound, was so vast. And she didn't have any registered not for profit. She didn't have any billboard or any ads, or she had no official fundraisers. Like, but people knew her heart and the way she lived, and people just poured into her. And
Wow.
so
Mm,
I asked God right then and there to give
mm.
me a double portion
Oh my
of
God.
her anointing,
Mm.
of her love for people, of
Oh.
her boldness
Mm.
that would have her walk into a pharmacy and lead someone to the Lord at the cosmetic counter.
Dana, we're going to stop right there because a double portion of what your mother had, that means, Dana, your legacy will be beyond priceless. And we want to hear that. We want to hear about the gifts and the talents and how you're using that now to honor God and to build relationships and not to be afraid, but to be bold like your mom. So until next week, when we hear about how Dana now wants to be like her mom, a double portion of her mother's anointing. Viewers, stay tuned because you don't want to miss that. And
Mm.
until then, have a good evening. And remember, if you haven't subscribed, please do. And remember to turn on that notification bell because you don't want to miss the double portion. Thank you again and have a good evening, Dana.